my name is Myra, and in today's video I wanted to go ahead and talk about all of the books that I read in February. This month was actually a pretty good month for me. I read a total of 10 books. 6 of them were audio, 2 of them were paperback, and 2 of them were on the Kindle Unlimited app. So 10 books for me, that's pretty good, especially considering that the first book that I finished was Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. Now this one is book 5, I think, in the series. So I haven't really been talking about the Throne of Glass series just because I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read it. Heir of Fire though, I did really enjoy. There's a lot that happens in there. You have Selena, who finally goes over to this other place to pretty much try to come to terms with who she is and make peace with that. But on top of finishing Heir of Fire, which I started at the end of January, finished at the beginning of February, I also read Queen of Shadows. This one was actually my first 5-star read in the series. In Queen of Shadows, you just have a lot of things that finally wrap up. Now there's still a lot of action, like there's still a lot of things going on, but you actually have things kind of coming to a close. You have Selena finally coming, or is it Selena? Maybe it's Selena, I don't know. Please excuse me if I say her name wrong, but you finally have her coming to terms with who she is, and there's a lot of character development, and she is just a badass. I don't know. So Queen of Shadows is my favorite thus far. I'm currently in the middle of doing the tandem read. I started at the end of February. I'm definitely not gonna finish it till now, or like here in March. But yeah, Queen of Shadows was good. Again, I don't want to go too much into detail because these are literally book, I think, like 5 and 6 in the series, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone. So anyway, those are the 2 that I wanted to mention just because I've literally started that series in January and I'm still like trickling along. But I'm hoping, and like by the end of, I'm hoping by middle of next week I'm done with the tandem read, and hopefully I'll be able to start, I think it's Kingdom of Ash. Yeah, which would be the last book. So I'm hoping that I get to finish it finally this month. The other book that I read was The Takeover by Kara Tanamachi. This one, I rated a 3.5 and I actually listened to it on audio. So this one, you have Nami and Jay Lee. So Nami is this founder of this like software company, and then you have Jay Lee, and both of them are rivals. Now they do not like each other. In fact, they grew up together, so they were high school nemesis. They were always competing to have like the better grades, to be valedictorian, like all these things. They're always trying to one up each other, and the comebacks and the banter in this book were so good. Like she always got him, like he was saying something, she was saying something, he was saying something, she was saying something, so they were getting each other back a lot. Now, like I said, Nami in this book, she is the founder of this like software company, and you have Jay Lee, who basically works for this huge company that buys other companies and pretty much a lot of the times dismantles them and then goes on. And so Nami ends up bumping into Jay Lee, and she doesn't know like why all of a sudden they're living in the same city again and like they're bumping into each other. But what she doesn't know is that he, or like his company, is trying to buy out her company since they are having financial struggles, and they're trying to buy it out, and they're probably going to dismantle it. Now, of course, Nami finds out and she is so upset, absolutely hates him, and the story goes on from there. Now, before that happens though, they start to spend a lot of time together, and she really starts to see this other side of him. So she starts to really like him and maybe see like there's more to it, and they start to hang out, start spending all this time together. So of course, once she finds out what's going on, yeah, she was pretty mad. She was pretty mad. So I did rate it a 3.5 again, just because there were issues that she had. Like, for example, she was seen as like the bad guy with like her sister and her mom, and like she had all these issues, and I just kind of feel like that was never resolved. And same thing for Jay Lee. His dad doesn't like the fact that he's not married because Jay Lee is the oldest, and so he feels like he should be the one getting married, and nothing ever really got resolved. Like things just neatly kind of like came together at the end. So I think if that had been kind of like spread out and resolved little by little, it probably would have been a 5-star for me. Another book that I listened to was A Filthy Rich Vampire by Geneva Lee. And this one you have Julian and Thea. Now this was a very different vampire book than the books that I'm used to. Like, this is definitely not Twilight, okay? Now Julian is a vampire, Thea is human. And Thea, she's in college. She plays the, is it the violin? I think it's a violin. I might have the wrong instrument, but she plays beautifully. Now she works part-time at like pretty much like playing at events with a band, and she's at this event with all these really good looking, rich looking people. And she's just playing, and Julian, being the vampire, he ends up getting really drawn to her. Not just because of how she's playing, but he claims that her blood sings to him. And he is immediately intrigued by her. And then later on, as the night goes on, there's this incident where he saves her, and he just kind of feels like really possessive over her right away. And she is attracted to him, wants to, like, you know, kind of get to know him a little bit better, but knows like there's something off, like there's something there, but she doesn't really know what it is. And he very early on has to eventually confess that he's a vampire. And she doesn't believe him at first until he proves it to her that he is in fact a vampire. And that's how she finds out that there's actually vampires all around. I believe the story takes place in San Francisco, so she's kind of like, whoa, okay, so like vampires are real, like they're all around us. But he comes from, I guess you can say, vampire royalty. So his mom immediately does not like her. She wants him to marry into a very well-off family. And so there's all these like drama, all these things going on. Now I did rate this a 3.5 just because there was a lot of like, I want to be with you, I don't want to be with you. I want to, but I can't, or like, yes, but I shouldn't. And there's a lot of mystery in this book, and it got a little bit frustrating for me because I'm like, I want to know like what's going on, just tell me. But I will say it got a lot better towards the end. So I definitely recommend to listen to the audio. It's pretty good. Next, I had a reread, and this was Twisted Games by Anna Huang. Now, Twisted Games, it's one of my favorites from the Twisted series. If anything, I have the book up there. You just can't see it. But I listened to this one on audio because, okay, I just need to say, if you don't have the Libby app, which is the app that you can get through your local library, in fact, multiple libraries in your area, I definitely recommend it. That is how I've been listening to so many audiobooks for free. You can also get books there to read on the Kindle app from your library. I recommend it, okay? Now, I had physically read the book, but now it was a reread, but it was actually a re-listen, I guess you can say, or a listen. But I love it. You have Bridget and Reese. So Reese is a bodyguard, and he used to be like a SEAL. He was in the military, so he has all these credentials behind him. Now he gets hired to work as a bodyguard for Bridget, and Bridget is a princess living in the States, but she's a princess of like a really small country. Her brother is the one who's like next for the throne, so she is currently third, you can say, or second for the throne, but she knows once he starts having kids, she's gonna keep moving down, and then once his kids have kids, you know, so on and so forth. So she's not worried. She is okay with being a princess, but she wishes she was normal, and having a bodyguard is just a part of what it is. Now, Reese is a live-in bodyguard, and he is very good looking. So she is immediately attracted to him, but she also doesn't like that he's so grumpy all the time and he's so serious. And she tries to kind of get him to get along with her on like a more like friendly way, but he's kind of like, no, like, I'm a bodyguard and these are the rules and this is what you have to do for your safety. And she's just like, oh my gosh, like he's like, no fun, he's just a grump, whatever. Now things do happen and change, because it turns out that she is going to have to step up and be the queen, and that was not in her plans. And so she tells him, listen, before things change, I want to be with you physically. Now they end up having like a romantic getaway. They spend some nights together, and then she has to go back to reality, except he's like, you know what? I want to be with her. And so he decides, you know what, I'm still gonna be your bodyguard even though we're moving to your country so that you can prepare or start preparing to become the queen. And so as they're doing all of this though, they end up finding out that she has to marry someone of royal blood, and it's been the law for like years and years and years. And he's like, you know what, I still want to be with you, and he wants to keep his distance, but he just can't. They keep having to like be together. And let me tell you, the spice that Anna Huang added in this book, whew, even listening to it, I was like, sweet Jesus, is it hot in here? Like, oh my God. But it was so good. It's so good. And Reese, he's just a sweetheart. So you do have like bodyguard, age gap, I don't know. But, and then I forgot, who is the narrator for this one? It's a popular narrator. His voice, whoo, sweet Jesus. Anyway, I'm gonna pop in his name because I can't remember his name. Recommend it. 10 out of 10. This is a 5-star. I mean, it was a re-listen, so I don't know if it counts, but Twisted Games is my favorite out of all 4 books in the Twisted series. So yeah, check it out. And if you can, listen to it on audio. 10 out of 10. Next, I had a first, and this was Serpentine Valentine by Gianna Darling. This is a first because this is actually a sapphic romance, which if you don't know what a sapphic romance is, female getting together. Okay, now I freaking loved this book. So Serpentine Valentine, I will say, please look up your triggers. This deals with Alexandra, or Lex. She is very comfortable in her sexuality, her femininity, but she is into women, and she's always known, or she's known for a long time, that she's into women. She wants to be with women. Now unfortunately, Alexandra gets really close with the professor, who ends up taking advantage of her. And by taking advantage, I mean Alexandra, or Lex, is S8. So it is on page, so again, look up your triggers. You could definitely skip over it. It's just a couple pages, but just know that. And so when that happens, she reports him right away. Like, she comes to, and she's at the woods. You know, her clothes are everywhere, and she goes to find this professor because she's like, he did this to me and he's not gonna get away with this. And so she goes, and she goes off. She like scratches his face, and she's just like, you know, saying that he took advantage of her and abused her, and no one believes her. And it's really sad. It's really unfortunate. And as a woman, it made me so angry. But Alexandra decides that she is going to get payback. And so what she does is she ends up being put on administrative leave, or not administrative leave, but like student leave. So like the school forces her to go on leave, I think for a semester or 2. They expect her to come back, like, you know, just kind of be quiet and have her head down. And no, she comes back with her head held high, and she is tattooed, and she's just different, and she's confident. And that's because she has a plan, and she has a plan to get back at all the people who did not believe her, and of course to get back to this professor who took advantage of her feeling comfortable with him. And her revenge though incorporates Luna. Now Luna is the daughter of the dean of this college. She's currently in a relationship, and she is like the golden child, right? And Lex is like, I'm gonna get her to fall for me. I'm gonna seduce her, and seduce her she does. Now it very early on though becomes very clear like what's going on, and you know, Luna is also finding out all these things about her mom, and that her mom is not the person that she thought she was. So you have all these things going on. Gianna Darling, like her writing is just so beautiful. And I posted on Instagram because Mad Woman by Taylor Swift is like the song that I kept kind of thinking about. And it's also, when I was looking back at the playlist that's at the beginning of the book, it's on there. And when I posted on Instagram, just like me and like, you know, just my outfit and like a picture of me reading the book, Gianna Darling actually commented on there saying that the song is one that she kept listening to while she was writing the book. So if you're a Swiftie, Mad Woman, that's the song that's like the theme of this book. So recommend it. And I was listening to it too, and like it belongs in this book. And the way that like she ends up getting revenge, and she also deals with her trauma, like not deals with it, but like works through her trauma, and like there's like a lot of healing in it. There's a lot of like female empowerment in this book, and I don't know, it was a 5-star read for me. Definitely recommend Serpentine Valentine. Again, check out your triggers. 10 out of 10 though, definitely recommend. Next, I listened to A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. Now this one, it was like, I went in there blind, and it was not what I expected, but in a good way. So you have in this one, Ricky and Ezra. Now, Ricky, she comes from a family that's very wealthy, and they all are in like the funeral arrangement business. But she's always loved flowers. She wants to open her own flower shop. Like that is her dream. And her sisters and her parents look down on her for not following what the family business is. And she ends up saying, you know what? I'm going to move, and with my own savings, with my own hard-earned money, I'm going to open up my own flower shop. And so she does. She ends up moving to Harlem, and she opens up her own little flower shop. Now, she has a pretty good following on Instagram, and that's kind of how she's trying to get the word out for her business. But one day she goes out to the park, and she's just there, and she ends up seeing this man, and for whatever reason, she just has this like immediate connection with him, and they just kind of lock eyes, and she doesn't know why, but she can't stop thinking about him after the fact. Now, they start to bump into each other, and she's kind of like, okay, what's going on? Like, who's this guy? What's his deal? And Ezra, he is like, I need to stay away from her. Like, yes, I'm attracted to her, but like, I need to stay away from her. And as the reader, you don't know why. Now, I will say, in this book, it's also, again, written very beautifully, but there's gonna be a lot of things that are gonna feel info dumpy, but there's a reason why you're learning these things. So just know that. It's almost like world building, you can say, but this is not a fantasy book, but there is a magical element to it. It turns out, basically, that Ezra he's not a vampire, but he's not human. And he is immortal, but he's immortal due to a hex that an ex-girlfriend put on him. And so his hex is that on February 29th, which is leap day, leap year, he is going to meet the love of his life, and then she's gonna die on the 29th. And so he knows, I can't be with her because if I do, she's gonna die. And so he thinks, you know what, if I keep avoiding her, but he also can't avoid her. And so you have all these things going on, and she doesn't believe him when he tells her, because she's like, that's not true. And he's like, no, like, you're gonna die. Like, I've been alive 127, I think, years old. And so there's all these things that are going on. And again, it was beautiful. Like, the writing was so beautiful. The epilogue was so nice. Like, you definitely get a lot of closure. But it was a 4-star read for me, just because, again, it took a while to get really good, but once it got good, it was good. Okay, so just know that. 4-star. Definitely, I listened to it, really liked it, and I actually, because at some point I'm like, oh wait, am I gonna get kind of like lost, because I'm like, I'm getting all this background information, but surprisingly, no. I was able to really retain a lot of the information, and again, it's gonna feel like, why am I here, like, learning this, but it'll make sense. Just trust me on that. Next, I listened to Filthy Rich Vampire, Second Right. Now, this is the second book following Filthy Rich Vampire. So in this one, again, you have Julian and Thea. But this one, I liked it a lot more because there's a lot more action. Again, her mom still hates her, okay? Like, her mom, or Julian's mom, is still like, listen, my vampire royalty son cannot be with a girl like you. And so, but this time, like, Thea kind of gets like a backbone, but then Thea finds out that she's always thought she was a human, but is she a human? Is she a hybrid of species? I don't know. A lot of things happen though. So yeah, I don't want to go too much into it because it's book 2, but there's a lot of action. It was really good. And again, I listened to the audio and I really liked it. I can't remember who the narrator is for this one, or who the narrators are for this one, because it is dual point of view. So you do have male and female narrators, but yeah, it's good. Again, can't give you too many details, I'm sorry. Next, it was another 5-star read for me, and oh my god, April 19th cannot come soon enough. But for two reasons, actually. Taylor Swift, of course, her new album, and the second book in this series. So the next book that I read, because I'm over here talking about, you know, Taylor Swift and everything, Twilight of Embers by Tessa Halley. And this one, you have dragons, you have white shoes. Do I need to say anything else? Anyone? No. Okay. So you have Hayden. Now Hayden, the book starts off with the memory of Hayden being this young girl, and her mom and dad tell her, listen, well, her mom specifically tells her, hey, there's like this hiding area that she didn't even know about in the attic. And she's like, you're going to hide in here. No matter what happens, you're not going to come out. You have to stay in here for your own safety. Now, she stays in there and there's intruders in her home. She has no idea what's going on. And when she finally comes out, her parents have been murdered. And again, she doesn't know what happened. She doesn't know why. And she ends up getting picked up by like a relative or like someone, like a family friend. But then she unfortunately goes into the foster system. So she's been a foster kid, and now that she's finally 18 and she's going to college, she moves to a college in Northern California, which is in Embers. I think that's the name of the town. Yeah, Hollow Embers. Yeah, something like that. Ember Hollow. Can't remember. Anyway, so she ends up moving to the city and she's getting ready to start college. She literally has just her duffel bag, her backpack, and that's it. So right when she gets off the bus and she's getting to this college, she ends up bumping into this guy, and he's being really friendly with her and telling her all these things. But then he kind of acts a little bit odd, and she doesn't know why, but he's still being really friendly, really nice to her, and that's that. Now, the following day, he does come to look for her, and they start to become really good friends. And all of a sudden, he starts to introduce her to his like brothers. And they're not his brothers by blood, but they're his like, they're like the people that he lives with, and they're like his family by choice. And so you end up meeting, so she meets Knox. He's the one that she first met. And then she ends up meeting Cal, Cillian, Easton, and Maddox. Now, Easton is Knox's twin, but he's a jerk. Maddox is a professor at the university. Cillian is like the CEO, so he's definitely like the older one in the group. And then you have Cal, Cal? Yeah. And then you have him, who's like this tall Viking looking dude, right? So she meets them, and they have different reactions to her, but they're really like affectionate with her. They really want to take care of her, and she feels weird because she has this like attraction to all of them, and she's like, no, but like at this point, like Knox and her have been spending time together. They've kissed now, so she's like, I don't know, and like things are weird, and she starts feeling like weird feelings, but she's attracted to all of them, and they're all okay with her being attracted to all of them. And she has no idea that they are dragon shifters, and more importantly, she has no idea that she herself is a dragon. And so there's a lot of action, a lot of things that go down in this book. The way that it ended is just like, it's so sad, because I'm like, Tessa, like how could you do this, you know? Like I want to know what's like next. So honestly, April 19th, Taylor Swift and the book, and that's gonna be me in the middle. Like it's gonna be a me sandwich with Taylor Swift and this book. But yeah, 5-star, recommend. Kindle Unlimited. I read it in like a day and a half. Like literally, I read it like that. So 10 out of 10, 5-star read, recommend. Last but not least, I listened to Barbarian's Touch by Ruby Dixon. If you don't know what these books are, it is pretty much smut, not gonna lie, but it's like alien smut. So it's these women who get captured by these horrible aliens, and on their way to their planet, they end up crash landing into this ice planet where they meet, picture Avatar, like the movie Avatar, like the blue guys. That's what they pretty much look like. And so they crash land there, but these guys are like so excited to see women because their tribe has little by little been slowing down. So all the books in this series have been of them like resonating, which is like fated mates. So their kui, which allows the humans to be able to survive on this planet, resonates with a kui from another male in the tribe. And so again, there's a lot of spice. These are quick, short listens, and that's exactly what this one was. Now this one was very different to the other ones because in this one, the heroine is deaf, and and the heroine had to find a way to communicate with each other, even though they've resonated, but she has no idea really what's going on because again, she's deaf, she can't hear, she doesn't know what's happening. And it's actually a slow burn compared to all the other ones because it takes so long before they actually get like physically intimate. So this one was really nice and it was really different. And again, she is deaf, and instead, like, they have like this ship where they're able to learn languages. He wants to learn her language, and he's excited to learn her language and to be able to talk to her, and he's just such a sweetheart. So this book was actually really sweet and really different from the rest of them. But anyway, if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. They're all on Kindle Unlimited, I'm pretty sure. I've read most of them on there, but they're also on audio. So the Libby app, that's how I listen to these. But with all that said, these were all the books that I read this month. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're gonna check any of these books out, please let me know which one down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.